You are not afraid of failing. You have failed before and survived it. What you are afraid of is succeeding and then having no excuse left. Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am EPICTETUS, and today I am joined by Carl Jung and LAOZI. Today we are examining why do we fear becoming the person we're capable of being more than we fear wasting our potential. Let me say it plainly. You have a version of yourself that you know is possible. You catch glimpses of it in a moment of courage, in a rare, clear morning, in the way you feel after you have done the hard thing. And then you walk away from it, not because you cannot reach it, because reaching it terrifies you more than staying small. That is not a tragedy. That is a choice. And the first thing you need to do is stop pretending it is anything else. You are not being held back by circumstance. You are being held back by the comfort of your own limitation. The cage is unlocked. You are sitting in it because it is familiar.
I would not dismiss that framing, but I think it stops too soon. You say it is a choice, EPICTETUS, and perhaps it is. But a choice made in the dark is not the same as a choice made in full awareness. What most people are encountering when they retreat from their own potential is not weakness of will. It is something older than that, something the psyche has constructed to protect itself. The self that a person is capable of becoming is also a self that carries new responsibility, new exposure, new demands. And below the surface, there is often a wound that whispers, "You do not deserve that." Or worse, if you become that person, the people who love you now will no longer recognize you. The fear is not simple cowardice. It is the terror of psychological reorganization.
You are both describing fear, but you are describing it as if it is the problem. What if the fear is just information? What you are both circling around is this. The person you are capable of becoming is not a destination you plan for and then arrive at. That is not how becoming works. When you frame it as a destination, of course it becomes frightening. You are projecting yourself into an imagined future and then recoiling from the distance. The fear is a symptom of the framing, not the underlying truth.
LAOZI, you are making it sound as though we should simply stop worrying about it and it will resolve itself. That is not good enough. People are watching their years go by. They are making the same compromises at 50 that they made at 25. This is not a matter of reframing the journey. It is a matter of confronting the specific lie they are telling themselves every morning. The lie is, I will do it later. I am not ready. The conditions are not right. Every one of those is a choice, a small, cowardly, daily choice, and those choices compound. You do not drift into wasted potential. You walk there, one comfortable decision at a time.
I agree that avoidance compounds. But EPICTETUS, when you call it cowardice, you are moralizing where you should be investigating. The deeper question is what the person is actually afraid of losing. Because in almost every case I have encountered, the fear of becoming is entangled with an identity that the person has built around not being that. They have built relationships, habits, a whole self-conception around staying at a particular level. To step into their full capacity would mean dismantling something they have spent years constructing. That is not cowardice. That is attachment to a self that once served them and no longer does. The shadow of their unlived potential becomes paradoxically a kind of companion, familiar, almost comforting in its weight.
That is closer. The identity built around limitation, yes. I have seen people who speak of their constraints with more tenderness than they speak of their dreams. Because the constraints are known, you can rest against them. The unlived life does not offer that rest, it makes demands. But I want to push back on one thing Jung said. You keep returning to the wound, to what the psyche is protecting, to what was constructed around the limitation. And that is real. But it is possible to over-examine the structure and miss the simplest thing. The person is gripping. They are holding so tightly to what they know that they cannot open their hand to receive anything new. The work may not be as complex as you are suggesting.
Now that I agree with. The overcomplication is itself a form of avoidance. If I can make the problem deep enough, psychological enough, ancient enough, then I never have to do the next thing in front of me. Jung, with respect, your framework is extraordinarily useful for understanding a person. But a person who is using self-understanding as a substitute for action is still standing still. I have met people who can narrate their shadow with precision and then go home and do exactly what they always do. The insight alone changes nothing. The behavior has to change.
I do not disagree that behavior must change, but you are skipping a step that matters enormously. If a person changes their behavior without understanding what is driving the old behavior, they will either revert or they will trade one compensation for another. I have watched people force themselves into their potential through sheer willpower, and the result is not always what you might expect. Sometimes what emerges is brittle, performative, disconnected from the actual self underneath. The person who becomes who they are capable of being without doing the inner work often becomes a louder version of their defenses, not a freer version of themselves.
There is something neither of you is naming. The person you are capable of being is not separate from the person you are right now. You speak as though there is a gap to cross, a transformation to achieve, a before and an after. But that way of seeing it is part of what makes it frightening. The oak is already in the acorn, not metaphorically. Actually, the becoming is not a project you manage. It is a process you stop obstructing. The fear is real. I am not dismissing it. But the fear is also generated by the belief that you must become something. What if you are already it, and the only work is to stop refusing?
LAOZI, I hear you, and there is truth in what you are saying, but you are speaking to someone who is already awake. Most people are not awake. They need to be told clearly and without comfort that they are making a choice, that the gap between who they are and who they are capable of being is being maintained daily by their own decisions. You cannot soften that into a nature lesson without losing the urgency. People need to feel the weight of what they are doing before they will stop doing it.
And yet urgency without understanding can produce panic rather than transformation. I have seen people driven by the fear of wasting their potential make dramatic, impulsive changes, abandon relationships, leave careers, pursue something that looks like growth but is actually flight. The fear of becoming can drive a person into what looks like becoming but is actually just movement. Speed is not the same as direction.
Yes, and this is where I think you are both partially right and both missing something. Epictetus is right that something must shift in what the person is doing. Jung is right that understanding the structure helps. But both of you are treating this as a problem to be solved, when it may be more like weather to be moved through. The person who is afraid of becoming does not need to eliminate the fear. They do not need to fully understand the fear. They need to act in the presence of the fear without demanding that the fear leave first. The fear is not the gate. The fear is just what the air feels like at that altitude.
That I can work with. You act, not when you are ready, not when you understand the wound, not when the conditions align. You act now, with the fear present, and the fear begins to reorganize itself around a person who acts rather than a person who waits.
Though I would add, and I think this is important, that the direction of the action matters as much as the fact of it. To act without any reflection on what you are running toward versus what you are running from, that is a real risk. The person who is capable of becoming something must have some honest reckoning with what that becoming costs and what it requires. Otherwise, they are not becoming, they are performing.
You are both right about different people. Some need urgency, some need reflection. What they all share is this: they are standing outside a door that is not locked, arguing about whether they have the right to open it. The door is not locked, it never was.
Then let us be honest about why the door stays closed.
Because on the other side of it, there are no more excuses. The person who becomes who they are capable of being can no longer blame the circumstances, the upbringing, the timing, the people who failed them. They are responsible fully and completely for what comes next. That is what the psyche is protecting against. Not failure, accountability.
And perhaps also the loss of the story. The story of limitation is also a story of identity. I cannot because I would, but those sentences have been doing work for a long time. To step through the door is to retire those sentences and the self that spoke them. That is a real loss, even when what replaces it is better.
A real loss, yes. And that is the most honest thing that has been said here. You are not just afraid of what you might become. You are grieving in advance the self you will have to leave behind. The small self, the self with excuses, the self that tried and had reasons for not succeeding. You have to be willing to lose that self, and most people will not pay that price.
Which is why the fear of becoming is so much more powerful than the fear of wasting potential. Wasted potential is an abstraction, something you imagine at the end of your life, distant, hypothetical. But the grief of releasing the old self is immediate. It is right here in this moment when you consider stepping forward. The psyche chooses the immediate pain of grief over the abstract pain of regret, every time.
Until it does not. That is the whole story. Until something shifts, and it does not.
You have heard what stands between you and yourself. Now hear what it will cost you to leave it there.
The fear of becoming who you are capable of being is not irrational. It is, from a certain angle, completely logical. Because to become that person, you have to give something up. Specifically, you have to give up the story you have been telling about why you are not that person yet. That story has been protecting you. It has made your limitations feel reasonable, even noble. It has let you stay in relationships, habits, and a self-image that were built around a smaller version of who you are. Letting go of that story is a genuine loss. You are allowed to grieve it. But you cannot grieve it forever and also move. Here is what the research and the wreckage both confirm. The fear does not go away before you act. It reorganizes after you act. You will not wake up one morning feeling ready and unafraid. You will wake up the same as you are today, and you will do the next thing anyway, and the fear will slowly shift its shape around a person who is no longer waiting for permission. Today, try this. Write down one sentence that begins with the words, "I cannot become that person because." Write whatever comes first, without editing it. Then look at what you wrote, not to fix it, not to argue with it, just to see it clearly. Because what you wrote is not a fact. It is the door, and now you know where it is.
You are not waiting for the right moment. You are waiting for the fear to leave. It will not leave first. That is not how this works. The person you are capable of being is not somewhere ahead of you, waiting to be earned. It is what remains when you stop constructing reasons to stay behind. Go do the next thing. The excuse you are holding will still be there if you want it. But you already know you do not want it anymore. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Tribue, 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.